السلام عليكم صباح الخير. My mom passed away last year of cancer. So thank you for bringing inspiring people. I was crying there. So I need to take a deep breath to start my speech. It was 2 a.m. when the secret police came to my house in Saudi Arabia to arrest me. The crime in the interrogation was driving while female and inciting other women to drive. I was sent to jail for the crime of driving while female for 9 days. There was international outcry to release me, and my father had to go to our king himself and ask for a pardon for me to be released from jail for the crime of driving. Driving is a basic human right. It's in the Declaration of Human Rights, the International Declaration of Human Rights. Moving from point A to point B. But that basic human right is a crime in my country when a woman exercises it. When I was in jail, the world called me a hero. My country went into frenzy. The media called me disrespectful. The imams took the Friday sermons and they called me a woman who wants to corrupt the society. One imam called me a whore. Another scholar, he asked them to lash me in public for defying the ban on women driving. The people themselves were divided. Some really supported me quietly. Some were totally against the act. Most of the majority were silent. I never said to be an activist. I actually grew up a fundamentalist Muslim. I used to wear niqab. I used to burn my own brother's cassettes, music cassettes, in the oven, because I was told in schools that music is haram. I remember the first song I listened to. Does anyone remember the first song they listened to? I was talking to Mayada, Marina's daughter, yesterday about the first play I watched. And she was asking a question like, what was the first play? It's interesting, you will remember when you're adult and all your firsts are done in an adult age. It was Show Me the Meaning of Being Lonely by Backstreet Boys. I still remember every word in that song, especially when it says, is this the feeling I want to live with? When I was fundamentalist Muslim, that was the feeling I lived with. Being extremist really isolates you. The only thing I really did that was act of rebellious growing up was finding myself a job at a very young age in a country where it frowns at women working with men. I graduated computer science, and I joined the National Oil Company as a computer information security specialist. I was the first in my country. When I turned 30, I started rebellious actions. I got my driver's license at that age in the US. And when I was there, I went skydiving to celebrate my 30th birthday. Every birthday after that, I tried to do something rebellious and new to me. So the next year, I buy a ticket and I fly alone all the way to Puerto Rico from Saudi Arabia, a journey that took me 36 hours. At the age of 32, I decided to drive a car in the city of Hobart and post a video about it on YouTube. That video got 700,000 views that day. It was the most viewed video, not only in Saudi, but around the world. Saudis understood what was going on in that video. The world didn't. I remember one comment saying, "Why everyone is watching this video? It's just a woman driving." If there is a award for the last country on earth when it comes to women's rights, Saudi Arabia would win that shamefully. We are the last country in the world that send women to the Olympic. We are the last country in the world that allow women to practice law. We are the last country in the world where women can drive. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you thought of it. What would it be living in a country as big as Eastern Europe, Western Europe? There is no public transportation in that country, and women are not allowed to drive. Have anyone thought of that? What do you think? Because women can drive in my country, we have to hire drivers from over the seas. We pay a lot of money to hire those drivers who don't even speak Arabic, or English for that matter. Hiring these drivers is so expensive that there are influential families in Saudi Arabia own that business. So it's like a mafia, so it's for their interest to keep the ban. Families who cannot afford hiring drivers, they have to allow their kids, as young as 8 and 9 years old, to drive their sisters and mothers. Just go online, put minor drivers in Saudi Arabia. How dangerous? In my country, me as a professional woman, I need a man to drive my own car. So many times I missed going to work, or I was late for work because my driver did not show up. I know a lot of women who cannot apply for jobs because it will cost them more to pay the private driver to drive her to her work than she driving herself or taking public transport that does not exist. So you lose productivity too. And that made us, as women, 60% of the college graduates and the higher education in Saudi Arabia are women, more than men. But only 11% of us make the workforce. So it's lucky even to have a job. One of the reasons is the lack of transportation and the ban on women driving. It's interesting to know that because of the inexperienced drivers, because we have minor drivers, because women cannot drive, we have the highest fatalities in the world. 19 deaths per day in Saudi Arabia in the world, in Saudi Arabia. Do you know that Saudi Arabia last year, they invested $3 billion in Uber? I know Uber is one of the sponsors. Shame on you. And that gives us explicit message or implicit message saying that the ban on women driving will persist. Because 80% of Uber customers in Saudi Arabia are us, women. It's an amazing contradiction. So I come from a society where men and women cannot sit in the same room like here. When I went to college 5 years, I've never seen my professors. I've seen them through closed TV circuit. Where our mosques, our banks, our offices, our restaurants, our homes are separated. There is entrance for women and there is entrance for men. But the same society expects me as a woman to be in a car driven by a man who's a complete stranger. Did anyone ask why women can't drive in Saudi Arabia? You never wondered? Actually, there's a study by a professor giving us the reasons why women are not driving in Saudi Arabia. This study came in 2011 by a professor, and he claims it's based on a study that was done by the UNESCO, and it was actually presented to the consultative council, the unelected council that's appointed by the king. The study states, I'll read from the study. Fasten your seatbelts. The percentage of adultery, rape, divorce, illegitimate children in societies in which women drive is higher than in societies in which women don't drive. That's an official study. He claims in that study, if women are allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, there will be no more virgins in 10 years. Google it. We started a hashtag, and it made the news, and it mocked them badly. Actually, it's not about the study. You might think the study is a propaganda, but it's not. It's a part of a larger system that uses rigid interpretation of the Sharia law, the Islamic law, to make women inferior, in need of a protection of a man. Worse than that, when those women believe in their own inferiority, and they fight us, women who fight for our rights, to keep the status quo. And it's also a system that brings the responsibility for us women to alone for all the problems we face. Even when there is a fault of the man, women always hold responsible for that fault. We have a saying in Arabic, الرجال شايل عيبه والبنت سمعة. That means a man endures his fault, while a woman's fault costs her family its honor. Sometimes they say women can't drive in Saudi Arabia because we're queens, and queens don't drive. So we call it the kingdom of one king and million of queens. Sometimes we go and pull Queen Elizabeth's picture, driving her Jaguar, and we say, really, queens drive their cars. They don't like it. Sadly, queen is a name just was used to make us accept the status quo in Saudi Arabia and being ripped of our rights. The situation is really more complex than this. The situation goes back to me as a woman being considered a minor in need of protection of a man all my life. So by the Saudi law, I'm 38, a mother of two, an engineer. I'm still a minor in need of a protection and a verbal or written permission from a man all my life. And that's the system that is used to ban women from driving, because women are minors, incapable of driving their own cars or even driving their own lives. Do you know that there is no actual law in Saudi Arabia banning me from driving? It's the guardianship system, which I call the source of all evil. According to the Global Gap Index, we rank shamefully 141st out of 144 countries around the world. Only 3 countries under us, Syria, Yemen, and Pakistan, and these countries, they have prime ministers and women in the government. We don't. I know driving is something women take for granted around the world. And maybe because it's a simple act, it's a mundane act of everyday life that everyone takes for granted, people could relate to. That's why, for us, driving is a symbol of disobedience. Nothing really pisses off the Saudi society and the government more than seeing a woman behind her the driving wheel, and nothing brings the attention of the whole international media to the violations against the women's rights in my country, like women being arrested for driving. Its power relies in its simplicity, and everyone can relate to. They have said to me again and again, being campaigning all these years, that I'm a disrespectful woman. For how could I dare challenge the law? And I say, I will not respect a law that does not respect me. If challenging injustice laws is disrespectful, I'm proud to be disrespectful. I will continue to be disrespectful until the first Saudi driver's license is issued to a woman, until the guardianship is abolished in my country. Only then, I'm a full citizen equal to men. So to all the disrespectful women, including our cancer survivor in this world, own the title. Be proud to be disrespectful to injustice. Don't explain yourself. Just be yourself. You have no obligation to make sense to anyone. Accept both opinions of your enemies and your friends, because it takes sun and rain for flowers to grow. Challenge the status quo. Trust your guts, because when it feels wrong, it's because it's wrong, not because you are wrong. Yes, it will hurt, but at the end, when all is done, it will be so beautiful and so worth it for standing for something you believe in. To all the disrespectful women, keep changing the world. Thank you, everyone.